Why are you supporting Trump?
Trump, me personally, he just straight up to the point with everything. You know what I'm saying? You gotta think about it. We could take off the magic glasses now. Everything is exposed.
Why are you supporting Trump this year?
I guess since Obama, it kind of introduced everybody, like me and my friends, to politics. We wasn't really into politics. So watching it from '08 to now, the Democrats not as good as they say. It's kind of like smoke and mirrors for real. So at this point, might as well go Republican.
The same Democratic Party that started the KKK, the same Democratic Party that was opposed to all the civil rights movements in history, and the list goes on, but we won't contact that. Them same people that use race to divide and conquer, when you see everybody here, different race, we don't care about that. We don't judge people off race. We go off character, you know what I mean? What people stand for.
Time, right? I mean, it took forever. Why did it take so long for people to kind of go, wait a minute, we've been voting this way, and it's taken.
I don't think anybody exposed them as much as Trump did.
Qualifications for being a leader is you have to have leader qualities. You can't be someone that can't lead to be a leader. So it goes based on who has these qualities to not be pushed over or not get taken advantage of, and that's what it comes down to. Who's gonna do that? And right now we got, the answer is Donald Trump, and Vance is gonna be. It's Vance 2028. That's how they're going to follow it up. He's going to win. He's going to be our next president, 48th president. So that's just how it's going to carry over. We may see a switch from a blue Democratic Philly in the next 10 years to a red. Who knows? All the Democratic cities are Philly, Chicago, LA, DC,
New York.
What's their condition? All the ones that's fucked up. They got all these shootings, all this. They can't. You can steal over, as long as it's not over $1,000. Like, they got all this craziness. I went in the Wawa the other day. There's nothing in there. You don't even have to pay.
Let's use common sense. So if you're not completely a Republican or Democrat, but let's think for a second. The Democrats right now are saying boys should be girls. Common sense. That's just stupid.
Man, we have no option. Just Trump. No more options. You like this? You understand? You know what I mean? Exactly. And then, if Trump don't go to the government, I move from United States.
You're going to leave the U.S. if Trump loses?
Yeah, because Kamala is a left guy, and your ideas I don't like. I old man, I traditional family, from God, everything I do for better world, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't speak very well English, but I try.
That's good.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's good to see you. Welcome to Questions Worth Pondering. I threw that video together. There's a guy on YouTube. Shoot, I meant to grab his name. I'll have to add it to the description later, but he's interviewing people on the street in Philly, and they are based. And there is a lot of movement in blue areas toward red. So it's kind of interesting. Anyway, welcome to Questions Worth Pondering. This is where we pose questions related to current and historical events. And I'm your host, Nevs, if you're joining us for the first time. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about current events. Got a lot of things to go through. I've got going to talk a little bit about Madison Square Garden event, Kamala, a little bit about Kamala. We're going to talk about Mike Benz and his recent comments about the 14th Amendment. We're going to talk about persecution, weaponization of government, and some election shenanigans that are already happening. There's a lot going on, so time to buckle up, right? All right, so that being said, I'm going to put my link on the screen here. You can't see it very well, but Linktree /Nevs TV. That's where you can find all of the links to my social media platforms. And if you'd like to support me, that's where you can find where you can support me. You can also support me on Rumble with Rumble Rants. And if you'd like to join in on the chat, most folks are pretty active on Rumble. This is also my social media. I'm Nev's channel on Telegram, X is Nev's TV, and Truth Social. I am just Nevs on Truth Social. So with that, I guess we should probably get started. I think I'll start with Madison Square Garden. Trump had a big event over the weekend, huge, just like going to Madison Square Garden. I'm going to open my bubbly water here and have a little sip. Sorry for the loud noise. But, okay, ahead of the rally, the fake news, mainstream media, they were already comparing his rally to Hitler and Nazi supporters, saying that at one time, 80 years ago, there was a pro-Nazi event. And so they thought it was very strange that Trump would hold a rally at Madison Square Garden. I mean, that is so ridiculous. Does that mean anybody who performs at Madison Square Garden, we should question whether they should have ever performed there? Does that mean they are pro-Nazi supporters and Hitler sympathizers? So the narrative started way before the rally even started. It started after he announced that he was going to Madison Square Garden. And there was one speaker there who was a comedian who made a comment which just made the left go kind of crazy. But he made a comment about Puerto Rico saying that, and he was joking, and I didn't see his performance, to be honest, and I didn't feel like pulling the clip. I just wanted to speak to it because I have plenty of clips to show tonight. But that was the only comment that probably shouldn't have been made that night. But all the other speakers, Trump had a star-studded lineup of speakers who were very encouraging, very positive, very excited about the upcoming election. There were so many people. Even Melania showed up, and Elon Musk and JD Vance. He had a ton of people there speaking for him. So, but of course, they went a little unhinged. And I wonder if I can, hey, I want to say hi to you guys. So I need to pull up Rumble so I can see. I think I saw Carrie and Craig in chat. And please bear with me tonight because I'm using Rumble Studio and I'm not used to it. I really needed to get off of the other platform that I was using because it has bugs, and it's bugs that I cannot put up with. So, oh, here we go. So we've got Pocket Friend. So good to see you. Carrie, we've got Magnolia and Dorkbot Craig. Deplorable Mike, I'm so happy you're here tonight. I hope everything's going well for you. Anyway, I want to say hi to everybody. I don't know if I can show your chat on the screen. I don't know that I can. I'll have to figure that one out. Anyway, so bear with me tonight as I get used to this. And I apologize. I didn't have time to get ready. I was out running errands right before this and had a little busy day today. So, so I'm just trying to figure out Rumble Studio, but we'll get it figured out. All right. So let's get back to talking about how the left was a little bit unhinged. And I've got media that I want to pull up. I've got notes here. I think the first one I'm going to talk about. I think I will talk about MSNBC. They did a Nazi comparison. So they waited till the rally started so they could get the big crowd and get the vision. And then they did a side by side showing Trump's rally and compared it to Nazis. It was horrible. Let's have a look.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally. A rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
Can you believe that they even compared the campaign for presidential campaign to this pro-Nazi event that happened 85 years ago? Shame on you, MSNBC. Shame on you. Not only that, AOC became a little unhinged, and she was complaining about that one speaker's comment. It was a one comment out of an entire day of events. And she was calling it a hate rally. There was no hate there. But let's go ahead and see what AOC had to say about it.
This was a hate rally. This was not just a presidential rally. This was also not just a campaign rally. I think it's very important for people to understand that these are mini January 6th rallies. These are mini Stop the Steal rallies. These are rallies to prime an electorate into rejecting the results of an election if it doesn't go the way that they want. Because Donald Trump and that entire cadre of people up on that stage, Stephen Miller, etc., do not respect the law of the United States of America. And they either want to win this election.
That's enough of her. I've had enough of that. They just spew these things out that are untrue. And they don't even have anything to back it up. They show nothing to back it up whatsoever. It's just crazy. So that being said, MSNBC, she was on MSNBC as well. And let me see. I do want to talk about the New York Times and them comparing. So let me see if I can figure out how to share my screen. I have to apologize. Let me see. Go to presentation, maybe. I think this is it. I think this might be it. Yes. No, this is not what I wanted to bring up. I have to apologize. All right. Well, I know what it is here. This is what I wanted to bring up. So it's Wikipedia, not New York Times. So the Wikipedia, They officially deemed Trump a fascist, but basically they colluded with The Guardian. Here's what's super interesting. So, The Guardian published a 4,000-word article called "Is Donald Trump a Fascist?" And what happened was this Donald Trump and Fascism Wikipedia page was created the same day that that article went out. And you know what that article used as a reference for like their source? Wikipedia. Yep. It's crazy. So same day, this was back in September. They had an article come out. Wikipedia page created the same day that article was published, and they referenced Wikipedia as a source for their article. This is how bad the MSM has gotten. They have gotten so bad. So here it outlines the Donald Trump and Fascism Wiki page, created on September 1st, 2024, the same day that The Guardian published the 4,000-word essay. Contributors from just 2 editors comprise 91.2% of the Donald Trump and Fascism article's content, suggesting a tightly coordinated effort to control the narrative. This is just propaganda 101. Propaganda 101. While the Trumpism Wikipedia argues that Trumpism has significant authoritarian leanings, describing it as far-right, national populist, and neo-nationalist, it relies on a source that argues the exact opposite. So you know how on Wikipedia they have to list their sources for the facts that they write up on Wikipedia? Well, the source that they referenced actually says the opposite of what they actually wrote. I can't see the rest of it. Anyway, I just found this to be pretty shocking, even though we know MSM is doing this kind of stuff. And so the narrative of Trump being a Nazi, being Hitler, they're really pushing that. Even Kamala is saying that. Tim Walz is saying that. They're really pushing that out there. They feel like that's working. They must be doing some kind of analysis on metrics around that. They probably focus grouped it to death as well. So thank goodness there's only a week left before the election, because I'm frankly very tired of the whole Nazi narrative. And I think the rest of the country is too. I don't think that people are buying it. People are smart. So let's see what else I got here. So yeah, for the Madison Square Garden thing, the Nazi is the narrative. But let's talk about, well, I've got a couple more things with the New York Times, actually. So I do want to bring up the New York Times, and then we'll talk about what Trump actually talked about. So the New York Times have reached out to a couple of, a few very high-level, independent journalists asking questions, because they're about to put out a hit piece. And so let's just read this. This was for the Babylon Bee. Could you kindly provide us with a comment or decline to comment by end of day tomorrow? Thanks so much for your time. So end of day tomorrow is today, which means tomorrow there's probably an article coming out. Here are points we'd like to include along with some questions. So they sent this out to a few different people, and one person copied their email. This is Babylon Bee. Media Matters identified 286 YouTube videos from 30 major creators between May and August that contained election misinformation, including narratives that have been debunked or are not supported with credible evidence. So they go on to list all these things. The whole thing about this hit piece that's coming out is an attempt to force YouTube to censor these influencers because they are influential. And anything they don't like what people say, they call misinformation. So they're asking for these independent media organizations to provide a comment based on their bullet points that they sent them. They asked them to respond to it. And Elon Musk said, yeah, respond to them with New York Times is a danger to our democracy. So now New York Times is a danger to our democracy was trending on Twitter today. So not only, or X, not only should the media companies respond with that, everybody was posting that today. And it became very viral, if you will. So it wasn't just Babylon Bee, though. It was others as well. And this talks about the Wikipedia article. So I'm going to skip past that one. So there were multiple outlets that reported that. And I just think it's kind of crazy. So let's see what New York Times says tomorrow. I'll be looking for that article, and then we'll have a chat about it. All right, so let's talk about one other, just what Trump actually talked about at that rally. One thing was pretty intriguing. It was something that Pepe Lives Matter posted, and he posted a clip. Let me get back to my clips here. Let me just see what I called this really quick. Sorry, I will get into a groove with Rumble Studio when I've been using it more. All right. So Trump made a statement about getting not just the Senate, but the House, keeping a majority in the House. And then he pointed to Mike Johnson in the crowd and talked about a secret they have that he will let us know about after the election. Let's hear what he has to say.
Because we can take the Senate pretty easily. And I think with our little secret, we're going to do really well with the House, right? Our little secret is having a big impact. He and I have a secret. We'll tell you what it is when the race is over.
Their little secret is having a big impact on the House. What does that mean? What do you guys think that means? What do you think they're doing? What kind of strategy do you think they're using? I'm super curious. And I'm just checking on chat. I'm not seeing you guys chat. I want to know your thoughts on this stuff. All right, so let me get back to the next thing. Then Trump, you know how they talked about it was a hate rally. It wasn't. It was an amazing rally. And Trump was very inspirational, and he had a really positive message during the rally. This rally was much different than some of his other rallies where they start the music, he comes out with the music playing. You know, like Melania introduced him, which was super cool. And Elon Musk spoke and all of that. But here Trump talks to us about dreaming big and a new golden age, which I thought was pretty cool.
Asking you to dream big again, and this will be America's new golden age. We're going to have a golden age, and hard to believe after the 4 years, almost 4 years of what we've gone through. It's hard to believe I can even say that.
He seems very confident that he can turn things around super fast, and that things are going to be great pretty quickly. So I can't wait. I can't wait. We need to get out and vote, though. Vote, vote, vote. Just like fight, fight, fight. We got to vote, vote, vote. And how many of you guys have been voting early? My brother just sent me a text today showing his sticker that he voted early in Florida. I have not. I was thinking about voting on election day. But I'm curious if you guys voted early. I think a lot of Republicans are voting early. And there was some information that was going around today about that. And the New Jersey, I don't know, where's my New Jersey? Might have to search for it on Twitter. I'm going to just search for it. Oh, I know where it might be. I think it's in New Jersey. So everybody was putting this out about New Jersey. Let me make it a little bigger. All right. So they had New Jersey early vote, in-person votes, that there were more Republicans voting early than Democrats. And I'm hoping that they were going in person to vote, and these aren't. How do they know if they're Democrat or Republican? How do they know that? Craig says, I didn't vote. You didn't vote early. I'm a diehard election day, not season guy. I totally get that. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can post that. Can I show that? It does show. Okay. All right. I am able to take it down. All right. Yeah. I think I'm kind of the same way too, Craig. But I know, like, the campaign is trying to get people out to vote early. I think they're worried about things that could go wrong on election day. But one of the things, this is New Jersey, which is shocking. But if you look, I think they have like over 6 million registered voters. And this totals up to like, what, 400,000? So it's a small percentage of registered voters, maybe 10% of. I looked, and back in 2020, there were over 6 million registered voters and 4 million that actually voted. So that's about 10% of the total population that normally votes. So we'll have to see what happens. It says 379,000. So it's not that many that are in yet. And, I'm so glad you voted early. Yes, it was a beautiful rally, Magnolia. I think it was one for the history books, to be honest. That rally was definitely for the history books. All right, so New Jersey, there's just a lot of info going on here around that. So like I said, and then there was this post that, hey, New Jersey, we're not dead yet. I love the Grok trending funny votes that they're funny articles that Grok creates. That's the AI for X. Anyway, but New Jersey, I went to the voter information portal to find the information. So they have a total turnout. So 6.4 million are registered, and in 2020, 4.6 million of those voted. So I think that gives us a pretty good indication of what to watch for. And by the way, next week, the show will be on election night. So Carrie's going to join me, and we're going to go live and talk about election results as they come in. Should be super fun. I'm super excited. I'm so glad you're going to join, Carrie. Yes. Okay. So Craig, I'm actually going to talk about that. Yes. Pennsylvania, there have been a lot of shenanigans, and we are definitely going to talk about that. I wonder if I should talk about that now. I was going to talk about Kamala next, but I think this will be a good segue into the election shenanigans. So to start out with, there have been ballot box fires before we get to Pennsylvania. Okay, I want to talk about the ballot box fires. They're happening in Oregon and Washington. They think that they're connected. And, you know, I posted a few days ago, I think, about an Oregon one. That's when I think it started. But there have been more happening. So I don't know what's going on there, but do not put your ballot in a mailbox or in a ballot box. Please, if you're going to vote early, vote in person early. A lot of states allow you to vote in person early, so do that. But today in Pennsylvania, they had a deadline. So we're going to talk about Pennsylvania in just a second here. But so there's shenanigans going on. There's shenanigans out on the West Coast and on the East Coast. One of the things that's going on around the election is Virginia. So there's a judge. They were fighting. There was like, I think around 2,000 registrations from dead people and non-citizens that they wanted to remove from the voter rolls. So they were suing to get those removed. A judge said, yes, you can remove them. Then another judge said, no, you can't, and ordered them to put those names back on the voter rolls. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about this. It's just because Virginia has a specific law in place, or it might even be a federal law. Let me look. I think it's in this article, but basically all voter rolls have to be cleaned up and no longer go through maintenance. They can't do any more maintenance within 90 days of the election. So all the cleanup has to happen, and it has to be complete 90 days before the election. And I don't know, I don't think it would be considered maintenance if it's like new registrations that they're like denying or trying to clean up. So I don't know all the details for this, but they're taking it all the way to the Supreme Court. And there's an emergency order that they'll likely have to talk through. Some of the things that they talk about, so even though there's this law in place, there's laws that conflict with that law as well that says non-citizens cannot vote. So there's conflicting laws, and the Supreme Court is going to have to make a decision on this. I find it really shady why anybody would question taking dead people or non-citizens off the voter rolls. You want to make sure those voter rolls are clean by the time people start voting. So that's going on in Virginia. It's something for us to keep our eyes on, for sure. Definitely have eyes on that. Just checking to see if there's any comments before I go to the next thing. Okay. I do want to let's delve into Pennsylvania a little bit. All right. Pennsylvania. So today, there's been a lot of reports about Pennsylvania and the lines being cut off early. So it says, I'm going to just go to Colin Rugg's post here. Early voter line in Quakertown, Pennsylvania was cut. He put at blank PM. It was like 2:00 p.m. It was supposed to stay open until 5:00 p.m. And if you're in line by the cutoff, then they'll stay open until you've gone in and been able to get your voting done. So let's just read the transcript here and then I'll show his video. But it says, voter, we have the right to vote until whatever time. He's got a blank there. Why is it closed? The officer says, let me explain it to you. This process is very slow and grueling. The voter said, that doesn't matter. If we're in line by whatever time, we have the right to vote. The officer says, we had to close because of a high volume of people. They had to cut the line at whatever time. So let's just watch this real quick. I'm going to rewind it. I can get to the beginning of the video. There we go.
I have a question. I have to bring someone here about 4 o'clock to vote. Are they
I'm
gonna?
going to ask you to talk to
Are they
this.
gonna turn everyone down?
I'm going to ask you to talk to this gentleman because the voting is closed right now.
It's closed.
I just want you to talk to this gentleman.
We have the right to vote until 4:30.
I get you. Here's
Why
what
is it
happened.
closed?
Let me explain it to you.
Please.
Okay. This process is very slow and grueling.
That doesn't matter if we're
Very
online.
slow and grueling.
Doesn't
Right.
matter if we're online by 4:30. We have the right
reason
to
why it
vote.
had to close was because a high volume of people wanted to do this. It's slow and grueling.
Well, then they
So
have
they
to
had
wait
to-
till everyone's.
They had to cut
doesn't-
the line at 1:45.
They cut the line at 1:45.
1:45.
You hear that, everyone? They cut the line at 1:45.
Here's your. here's
This
the form
is
right
voter fraud, by the way. Who?
No, it's
Who?
not.
Yes, it is. Oh, voter protection. I heard about that on X. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Contact
Voter protection. Let's see what that's
contact
from.
the county commissioners to complain.
This is, and so you don't think this is voter fraud? This is voter fraud. See that, everyone? They cut the line, even though we have till 4:30. Election fraud here in Bucks County. And you have an
Not really election fraud, maybe election suppression. But that's a little crazy. Not only that, they had another office. Maybe I've got that. I'll see if I have that. Nope, I don't think I do. Okay. So they had there was another video where there were officers that put up a sign similar to him that closed another location it was like 2:20 p.m. This one was 1:45 p.m. So they have been having shenanigans. I don't know if they know that like turnout is huge for registered Republicans or what's going on there, but there are shenanigans going on. Not only that, the Pennsylvania State Department then had to put a notice out, and let me just see if and then we'll look at the Bucks County. I don't know if this is Bucks County in Pennsylvania or not. If you guys know, let me know. Just mention in chat. But yeah, the Pennsylvania State Department put out a statement. And I'm going to actually, so it says, earlier today, we spoke with Bucks County election officials who assured us that every registered voter who goes to their county election office by 5:00 p.m. today will be provided an opportunity to apply for their mail ballot. Please be patient with all the county election office staff as they work hard to ensure every registered voter is able to vote in this election. Look at this response. Why did this happen? So here's the other video. I'm going to pull this up real quick. Let's watch it.
It's 2:41.
2:41.
And they are ending the line. It's 2:41.
So they put out these signs that say the line ends here. And the Pennsylvania Department of the State is like, oh, no worries. We got this. Don't worry. You know. All right. So then we've got a Bucks County police officer. I wonder if this is the same video I just showed. No. So Jack Posobiec posted this, that Bucks County resident tells me this officer was angrily telling voters they couldn't vote today at Doylestown Courthouse. You better get back. You better listen to me. What the heck is going on in Pennsylvania? So then Pennsylvania, Bucks County had to put out a statement as well. And their statement said, oh, there was miscommunication. So let's First, they posted, contrary to what's being depicted on social media, if you're in line by 5 p.m. for an on-demand mail-in ballot application, you will have the opportunity to submit your application for mail-in ballot. So that was the cutoff. They had a cutoff today to be able to get your mail-in ballot. Then they say that ballot will then be mailed to the voter or can be picked up by the voter later this week. Then, in their last part of the thread, it says, we are aware that due to miscommunication, individuals in line to apply for an on-demand mail-in ballot were briefly told they could not be accommodated. In fact, these voters were given the opportunity to submit mail-in ballot applications today. So, due to miscommunication, the spin they put on it is pretty interesting. All right. Then we've got Trump weighing in on Pennsylvania. He said that in York County, so this is a different county, they received thousands of potentially fraudulent voter registration forms and mail-in ballot applications from a third-party group. Remember 2,000 Mules? This is on top of the Lancaster County being caught with 2,600 fake ballots and forms, all written by the same person. Really bad stuff. What is going on in Pennsylvania? Law enforcement must do their job immediately. Wow. So shenanigans have already started, and it's not even election day yet. Really interesting. Really interesting. So we need to keep our eyes on the election. Shenanigans are starting to happen now. Let's make sure we share all the shenanigans. We can post it all over social media. I have not posted a lot today or yesterday. I apologize. I was really busy. And but I'm going to start pushing this stuff out there. You guys push the stuff out there too. And I'll post these links on Telegram, and I will post the links or the videos that I have and the links that I have on Truth Social and X as well. All right. So that's what's going on with Pennsylvania. I don't know. Craig, did you have anything else? If you have anything else to add, just put it in chat and I will do live research on it. But that's what I have so far, what I've been able to find as to what's going on today. All right. I want to talk about Kamala. I don't know. How do we pronounce her name? Is it Kamala? Kamala? All right. I posted this, I think yesterday. You know, she did a rally, and yeah, we make fun of her because wherever she goes, she like changes her accent and tries to, I don't know if she's trying to relate to the people she's talking to. She does a lot of that and comes off as just unrelatable, I guess you could say, like always saying she's a part of the middle class. Like that's her answer whenever she's asked about. As a matter of fact, I have to say, Katie, Defender of the Republic, put out a really good post about that today. Go watch her. She did like a face palm on Kamala doing the middle class statement after asking about people who are suffering. So follow her and catch that. I'll try to repost that later. But so yes, we like to make fun of her, but I feel like she went way overboard when she spoke at a church. She was trying to be very preacher-like. And the reason I'm going to re-show this clip, even though I already posted it, is because there was a gal who responded to that. And it's just epic. And if, especially if you're a Christian and a believer, it's a really cool response to Kamala. And I'd like to show that. So let's look first at what Kamala said. It's only 19 seconds. Let's watch it real quick.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The path may seem hard, the work may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning, and church morning is on its way.
So she was trying to sound like a preacher or something like that. I have no idea. And I just, I don't care if she goes to a rally in Georgia or Pennsylvania and tries to use whatever accent, but for church and trying to, I was very offended, just to be 100% honest. But I laughed at her too, because it's just ridiculous. She's just trying to sound like a preacher,
Weeping may endure for a night.
Weeping may endure for a night. All right. Well, let's look at this epic response to Kamala.
This is so sinister, like sinister.
Moment we do face a real question. What kind of country do we want to live in? That's before us right now.
Kamala Harris is literally in a church filled with Christians asking this question, knowing good and well that she just imprisoned someone named Bevelyn Betty for literally being a Christian, praying in front of an abortion clinic, and she's asking Christians. She's asking Christians, what type of America do you want to live in? How on earth can we as believers skate over the fact that this woman imprisoned a Christian for being a Christian? You put her on a pulpit to preach a message, not knowing what she has in store for you as a Christian. But I want to point you to something else that she said that I also thought was sinister, yet I agree.
Joy cometh in the morning, and church morning is on its way.
As in grief, as in death, as in loss, as in sorrow and sadness. May we vote according to the fear of the Lord and not our own thoughts, opinions, and ideas, not according to melanin in someone's skin. This woman is wicked, and God is in fact calling out. Wisdom is crying out in the public right now for many of us to get on board, because I'm telling you right now, just as the Bible says, it says this: if anyone turns a deaf ear to my instruction, even their prayers are detestable, meaning disgusting. May God have mercy on us all. May we vote according to righteousness, not based off of how we feel. Pray that Bevelyn Betty gets out in Jesus' name.
Pretty powerful response, and very clever, talking about mourning being, how the play on words with the English language here, really clever. I think she's right. Maybe Kamala is talking about grief in mourning. I don't know. But Carrie sent me that video. Thank you, Carrie, for shooting that over. Excellent response to Kamala. All right, we'll move on. And I'm just going to check chat really quick. I replied to Craig saying 100%. He's just saying the Pennsylvania stuff is infuriating. It is, exactly. Lots of shenanigans going on there, Craig. Lots of shenanigans. All right, let me see what's next on my list here. Let's see. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Mike Benz. I'll do it very pretty quickly because I do want to get to the persecution. A lot going on around some of that. So, well, I think the video will speak for itself. But Mike Benz brings up some analysis. He he was providing his analysis on what could the Dems do next. So, you know, there was really no October surprise on either side. I think some of the surprises, though, coming out of the Trump campaign were all the Democrats that were supporting him and Elon Musk getting on board and all of that going on with the Department of Efficiency, JFK Jr. coming on board, as well as Tulsi. So some pretty big Democrats, people who were Democrats in the past, supporting President Trump and actually are going to help him make America great again, which I think is pretty incredible because it really shouldn't matter what letter you have after your name, what party you belong to. All these things, you know, you guys, I need to post that video that I played at the beginning. But that one guy in part of the clip that I made was saying it's common sense. It's just common sense stuff. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. It's like, we just need to have common sense here. You can see what's happened the last 4 years. But anyway, I went off on a rant. So my point being is, like, Democrats didn't have an October surprise. They're doing everything they can to prevent President Trump from being elected. What will they do next? I mean, look at all the indictments. The media push against Trump, the propaganda, the common narrative, the narratives that are going out, and just the persecution in general. I mean, Trump was convicted. So I can't even believe this. So we're going to talk about persecution after this, but so Mike Benz had a theory as to what he thinks could potentially come next. And I'm going to go ahead and play this clip. Oh, it's pretty long. I don't know if I should play the whole clip. Shoot. I wish it wasn't that long. Well, let's watch it. I think what he has to say is important. And I think my response to it is going to be important as well. So let's watch.
If Trump wins Pennsylvania and Georgia, it's over with, right?
Right.
What do you do? What's another tool in your arsenal?
Well, listen to Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin in Congress has said, let people vote for Trump if they want. We're not going to certify his election anyway. So he may be elected, but we're not going to let him be inaugurated.
When did he say that?
This is like 2 months ago. You can pull up the Jamie
this
Raskin. I think that's probably the one.
Play it, Rob.
Again, it's necessary, but it's not sufficient because what can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, you know, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And
Yeah, that's probably enough. So great clip from Pepe Lives Matter. He posted that, so I want to give him credit. But there's a few things. Number one, what Jamie Raskin is saying, I don't know if you listened very closely, but basically he's saying on January 6, 2025, we need to tell President Trump that he is not qualified. Therefore, there will be a civil war because the justices in the Supreme Court were wrong. Okay, let's break this down a little bit. Few things. Number one, President Trump went through the impeachment process for what Jamie is referring to, and he was acquitted by the Senate. So he cannot use that argument or the 14th Amendment. Secondly, the Supreme Court is shooting down a lot of the things that they've been trying to get Trump on. For instance, some of his executive privilege stuff and a lot of that. Not only that, Salty Mercy posted in Telegram chat. I actually jotted down a quote from her that I'm going to read, and then I'm going to pull some of this information up, because this was one of the first things that popped in my head too. Is she says, however, Trump foresaw this, and a law was passed that the vice president could not stop the certification of a president. I remember when it happened, but I can't remember the details. I heard Just Human and Burning Bright discuss it. Of course they did, because they're brilliant. But yes. So this is a boomerang that is coming back to the Democrats. It's a pretty awesome boomerang too. But they signed a new bill I think it was in 2022, but they started it in 2021. There's a couple of different things they were wanting to cover. And so they have two things that they added to an omnibus bill. And one is new legislation. One is updating existing legislation. One is covering how electoral votes are counted. And the other is about presidential transition. The whole reason that these bills were put forth is because they were so upset. I don't know if you recall, but they were saying President Trump does not, or Vice President Pence does not have the right to send these certified electoral votes back to the states. And however, the law said otherwise. And they realized that, so they updated the law. Now, if Pence couldn't do that, why did they update the law? So they updated the law to make it so that the vice president and their role in the whole January 6th, elector count and certification review, that it's just a ceremonial thing that you can't. But they did a whole bunch of updates that I'm going to talk about, and I will do it very quickly. But they did other things, like they updated about how objections. You know how everybody's been objecting for everything when the votes are being certified. They also updated the presidential transition. Now, if you recall, when President Trump was still in office, and all the mainstream media claimed Biden won, but we were still waiting to see what was going on and to get these fraud things figured out and go through the courts and all, which didn't happen fast enough. President Trump's transition team was not letting Biden in on all the things. They let him in on some things, but not like the important, like national security stuff. They weren't doing briefings with them, and they were complaining. And I don't know if you guys remember that. Well, they completely updated with this whole bill. They completely updated that too, to make sure that transitions start immediately within 5 days of the election. So I'm just going to pull up real quick, and then we'll get to the persecution part of the show. Let me see. I got to see what I called things. Here we go. So we'll start with just a quick headline. So this is from January 3rd, 2023. So it was December 2022 that he signed it. It's called the Electoral Count Reform Act, but it actually had a bigger name than that. It was also, here it is, Electoral Count Reform and Presidential Transition Improvement Act. So they had a couple of different titles put in place. So so that happened. So I pulled it up and I started reading like, okay, well, what are all the things that they did? So quick summary. I just have little bullet notes here. So the vice presidential role is purely ceremonial. In order to raise an objection, they now have to have 1/5 of the Senate. Actually, I'm not even going to go through this document so I can get to the next thing. So I'm just going to quick summarize what the changes were. They have to have 1/5 of the Senate and 1/5 of the House has to sign off on that objection. And they can only raise one objection and they can only take 5 minutes to raise it. So in the past, there wasn't a limit as to how many objections people could raise. There also was the only requirement was they had to have a member of the Senate, so a senator, sign off on that objection and have it in writing. So that's the change. Instead of one senator, they have to actually have 1/5 of the House and 1/5 of the Senate sign off on that objection before they can raise it in writing. And then the other change they made was only certified electoral votes can be counted. I think they're trying to offset the backup electors, the alternate electors, which were very legal. It was very legal to have alternate electors. So that was their response. So everything they said that wasn't allowed to be done was actually allowed, and they had to update the law to prevent it from being allowed in the future. Now, all of this is going to come back to bite them because and also the presidential transition, the biggest thing about that change in the Presidential Transition Act, they call it now the Presidential Transition Improvement Act. They added the word improvement. The biggest thing out of that change is that the transition has to start within 5 days, and then they kind of lay out how you determine who the next president is, but they also changed the definitions. They changed the wording. So the wording used to say, president-elect and vice president-elect. And now, I actually do want to look it up and see, because they completely changed the word. I want to see what they're calling it now. It's almost like it's who we assume is going to be. Let me just check it out real quick here. Form of certificate. Meeting of electors. Counting electoral votes. Actually, I think I'll share my screen so you can see what I'm looking at. Because I do have, why isn't it letting me? There we go. I did highlight a little bit. So these are some of the requirements here. So the objections, talking about how it has to be in writing. But look at this, at least 1/5 of the Senate and 1/5 of the member of House of Representatives. Oh my goodness. And then if 1/5 sign off and then they go off and debate it, they have 2 hours to debate it. Then they have to vote on it and have a majority vote to accept that objection. Anyway, they have more details about what to do in that case and blah, blah, blah. Counting of the votes. But here it is. They went from saying president-elect and that the transition with the president-elect and vice president-elect, they changed that term to be apparent successful candidates. They changed president-elect to be apparent successful candidate. So basically, if somebody apparently won, but it hasn't been completely decided yet, you have to start the transition. And it's within 5 days of the election. Pretty interesting. All right, I'm going to get into persecution because I have a lot to cover and some interesting stuff. First, I want to congratulate Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon is out of prison. Talk about persecution. That's huge in the news. Maybe I'll just quick bring up congratulations, Steve Bannon. So excited. So excited. And Natalie, Natalie Winter, she works as part of the War Room. She announced that this morning. I'm going to play this real quick. It's just so awesome.
Stephen K. Bannon back in the saddle where he rightfully belongs. But like I said, today is not a day of celebration, shouldn't be categorized as a victory. No, it's a day of righteous indignation where we remember what this regime took from us in the same way that Kamala Harris's regime is not a regime of joy despite their best efforts.
Yeah, just remember what they took from us. That's really, really a great way of putting it. Yeah, so excited that he was released from prison. And I know we celebrated, but she's right. Like, it's really shouldn't be a day of celebration. I mean, we're happy he's out, happy for him. I think we're celebrating for him, for his freedom. But definitely it's not something to be celebrated, right? Having Steve Bannon thrown in jail for contempt of Congress and nobody else is. So how many people from the FBI, the DOJ, lied to Congress, refused to honor subpoenas, and were not prosecuted for it. He refused to attend a congressional session, and many of them have refused as well. And you're not seeing them in prison. So he went and had a press conference today. I'm super excited that he's back. He's a strong voice. 1 week before the election is perfect. It's just perfect timing. So, all right. So Steve Bannon, congratulations. The sad part about this, as Steve Bannon is coming out of prison, Tommy Robinson is going into jail. And he didn't even have a trial. There was no criminal act. He is going into jail for contempt of court. But not only that, Tommy Robinson, oh my goodness. I can't even believe that he's in prison. I'm going to pull up this article. Rebel News has been a huge advocate for him. This is the CEO of Rebel News. He's been backing Tommy a lot, but he was sentenced to 18 months in prison. And he was ordered to not release his documentary called Silenced. Tommy has been a huge advocate for immigration, for women, sex trafficking, and what's happening in the UK. And they were trying to silence him. He has a documentary called Silenced. It's out on X. You should watch it. It's very good. But because he published that documentary, he was in contempt of, that went against a judge's orders. So he was sentenced to 18 months in prison, but he has to serve 9. Not only that, his entire time there, he has to be in solitary confinement. Not only that, he was sentenced to the worst prison, like for the hardest criminals where terrorists are. And it's crazy. This whole Tommy Robinson situation is crazy. This is in the UK. Elon Musk had recently made a statement. I'm not going to go to the UK because I think that I will be arrested. And you know what? I think he's right. I think he is right. And look what happened to the Telegram CEO. I need to look into an update as to what's going on with that. But Telegram CEO was arrested in France, remember? So Europe is becoming communist. It's the Soviet Union of Europe. And a lot of the European nations, America's trying to go that way, but they haven't been able to because our Constitution is in their way. But basically, Tommy Robinson was arrested. Let's just listen to this real quick.
Ezra Levant here. It's just after noon in London. We're in the east side of London at the Woolwich Crown Court, which abuts Belmarsh, the highest security prison in the land. Tommy Robinson was found to be in contempt of court. He was given a sentence of 18 months, less 3 days, of which half will be served. Let me do the math for you. Just under 9 months Tommy will serve in the Guantanamo Bay of the UK, the harshest prison, the prison with the terrorists, the prison with the murderers. Tommy Robinson will spend 9 months there because he published the film Silenced, taking on the judiciary and censorship. It's so ironic. It is not a criminal conviction. Let me be crystal clear. Tommy Robinson was accused of no crime. He did not profit in any way. There was no subterfuge. He simply was motivated to tell his side of the story about an atrocious case of injustice. And because he did so counter to a judge's order, he will now spend 9 months in prison with murderers and terrorists in isolation, to be kept safe from the Islamic gangs that run the prisons in the UK. Tommy will be sent to Belmarsh in the special handling unit. Right there is a
I'll stop this. This is a 4-minute video. You get the gist of what's going on there. Prayers for Tommy Robinson. We need to follow that. They have had pro-Tommy protests out there. Free speech. There is no free speech in Europe anymore. At least not in the UK. There's no free speech. It's devastating to see what's happened since 2020. It all started, all of this outward communism, I'm sure inward. They've been wanting to be communistic, but the outward communism started being in our face during COVID. That's when it started with the lockdowns. And it's gotten so bad. It's gotten so bad. So I have a lot of links for Tommy. I'm just going to show this one. I think you guys get the point of what's going on there with Tommy. I do want to talk about, Newt Gingrich was recently interviewed a few weeks ago, and he talked about President Trump's persecution. Think about it. I don't remember how many indictments he has. Was it like 30 some? And in like several jurisdictions. We've got the Fani Willis. We've got the Georgia, Fani. Letitia James, Fani. There were 2 in New York. What was the other guy's name? Was it Alvin something? We've got Jack Smith in DC. So we've got all these people who've been trying to take Trump down. So I want to share a couple of clips from Newt. And let me find sorry, I'm just not used to Rumble Studio. I'll get there, guys. Please forgive me. All right. So this is about a minute long. We'll look at this and then we'll chat about that. And then I've got a final one from him.
He sees a totally corrupt Justice Department, a totally corrupt New York State Attorney General, a totally corrupt New York District Attorney, a totally corrupt Fulton County District Attorney, all waging war on him personally and trying to put him in jail. Now that focuses your attention. As I just tweeted today, the Senegalese actually had an honest election, and the reform candidate won 10 days after he got out of jail. And I just said, we may end up in the same place. The indictments forced Republicans to say, okay, Are you with these corrupt people trying to destroy Trump? Or are you with Trump? Well, that was an issue no challenger could get in the middle of. Because if you say, well, I'm for Trump, then why are you running? And if you say, well, actually, I think the Justice Department has a good case, you'll be driven out of the party. I mean, I think virtually, I would guess that, you have to check the numbers, but I would guess that over 80% of Republicans believe the Justice Department is totally corrupt. That there's no such thing as the rule of law right now. That you just have to hope they don't notice you.
Hope they don't notice you. What a statement. This seems, this is like it's like the world powers that be it's like global collusion, because it's not just, it's happening everywhere. Look at Brazil and how they shut down X, and they were threatening to arrest X employees. There's no free speech wanted anywhere in the world. And the weaponization of government, there's definitely a global agenda. And this isn't just, the deep state in the United States doesn't want Trump because it goes against their power, their money. I keep seeing that argument that it's about money. Yes, you got to follow the money. Yes, people that are willing to be involved care about money and power. But the ultimate goal is just more sinister and bigger than any money or power. There's definitely an effort, and it's a global effort, and you can see it when you're up at the 100,000-foot view. So Newt very rightly points out that, you got to hope that you don't get noticed, but you can't be afraid to speak. So that's the one argument I would push back on Newt, is that, no, get yourself noticed. If everybody's out there speaking up, the thing that's really saving the United States right now is the fact that we have our Second Amendment. And we also have our First Amendment. And I know they want to update the Constitution. They want to change that. Kamala the other day, gosh, she was in an interview. I wish I would have saved this clip. She talked about how free speech, some of the things Trump is saying, that free speech is a privilege. No, it's not. Free speech is a right, Kamala. It's not a privilege. It's a right. We have a right to free speech. We have a right to our opinions, even if you don't agree with those opinions. But Newt, he rightly points out in the next clip that, in this final Newt clip, but it was a really good interview. He had a lot to say in there. But he points out that this is not a game. It seems like his response to the mainstream media, the reporter here asking him a question, it's like MSM is getting a kick out of this, and they're like entertaining themselves with some of this stuff. But he made it very clear that we're in very serious times right now. This is we say it every time, but this is really the most critical election of our time.
And has that happened over the years of Trump, or that was?
It's been a direct response to Trump's existence.
I mean, how much of it is, as you're talking about it, is very personal, right? Like it's about Donald Trump.
Well, it is very personal. I mean, it was his mugshot. If they could, they would put him in an orange suit and put him in chains. This isn't a game. He has the full weight of the judicial system of New York, the judicial system of Fulton County, and the judicial system of the United States, all trying to destroy him personally. That's pretty personal.
And is that a good campaign in this year for him to run on that?
Well, he got him the nomination. That's not what the general election will not be about. That the general election will be the economy, immigration, crime, weakness in foreign policy, and just weirdness.
How high are the stakes for Trump, for the country going into this election?
This is probably the most important election since 1860.
Why?
You have a Democratic Party increasingly controlled by the weird wing of the party. You have a corrupt political machine across the country that is deeply dependent on taxpayer money to survive. You have a willingness to break the law routinely, which we're watching constantly. And I think you get 4 more years, and you get millions of illegal immigrants. You get 4 more years of this, I think the American experiment's going to be in enormous trouble.
I agree. We're in very serious times. And so it's very important that we get out and vote. If you're able to get out and vote early in person, not ballot box, but in person, please do that. I did hear recently, I know we were talking about 2,000 mules and that those shenanigans going on again. But the good news is in Georgia, a lot of those random boxes that they had unmonitored and unsecured are gone. And a lot of people have to bring their ballots now into those election government offices. So that's some good news on the Georgia front. But it's really important that we vote. We're in critical times right now. I know the best is yet to come. I think Trump put it the best. He I don't know if this was today or I think I might have clipped this today, but it's like, we got to fight. I can't even believe, before I show President Trump's clip, because that's my very last clip before we go. I just want to say that Trump has also had an assassination attempt on him. I know they found a gunman at the golf club too, but an actual shooting. And yet the mainstream media still puts the rhetoric out about Nazism. They want people to hate Trump. And all of their rhetoric is causing mental instability into people with TDS. Although I do think an assassination attempt is probably more coordinated than some random person with a mental disorder. But at the same time, there are those random people that listen to MSM, and they should be more responsible than to put out the rhetoric about hate rallies, about Nazi and Hitler and comparing him to and fascism, because it's all a lie. It's not true. But as Trump says, we have to fight.
So we're going to fight like hell for the next 7 days, and then hopefully and most importantly, we're going to be fighting even harder for the next 4 years, because we're going to turn this around and we're going to make this country greater than it has ever been. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's right. Fight, USA. We got to get out there. All right, guys. Next week, I'm so excited. We are going to be live, me and Carrie. We're going to be giving election results. I hope you join us. I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Please like this video, give it a thumbs up or a like, and please subscribe, share with your friends, and I hope you have a great night. See ya.
I can see clear.